I just bought a property in Toronto this week. So why on earth would I buy a property in Toronto right now when there's a possibility that the market is shifting and prices could go down even further? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain to you exactly why I bought a property in Toronto, and I'm going to address the number one question that I keep getting over and over again from you viewers, and that is, Connie, is the housing market going through a shift? Are prices going down? And should I wait to buy a property? So I'm going to address that and some other concerns in this video. So let's get to it. Hi everybody, my name is Connie Sarvananthan and I'm a real estate agent and active investor here in Toronto and the GTA. And yes, we did buy a house in Toronto this week. And the reason why we bought this house is because we thought it was a great opportunity. But people are questioning it because they are wondering why we would do it in this shifting marketplace. So what do I mean by shifting marketplace? Well, there's a few things that are definitely happening right now in Toronto and the GTA with housing. So first of all, there's a lot less showings. Showings have cut down significantly. There's also a lot less offers, and those offers are not going crazy over asking like they were in January and February. So that we are definitely seeing in Toronto and the GTA. We're also seeing a lot of properties come on the marketplace, have a lower price and not get offers on offer date, and then they're relisting at market value. So we're seeing a lot of relistings happening as well. Now, the one caveat I would make to all of this is that that's not true across the board. There are certainly houses and pockets throughout Toronto and the GTA where this is not happening. If you have a great property in a great location, you're still seeing bidding wars. In fact, there was a property in Toronto this week that listed for $2.5 million and sold for $3.5 million. So it sold $1 million over asking, and that $2.5 million was not ridiculously low for that area. So it's not across the board, but we're definitely seeing a shift happening across both Toronto and the GTA. So why is this shift happening? Well, I've addressed this in other videos in great detail, but I'm going to give you the highlights here right now, and then I'm going to link to those videos. So there's four major things that I think are happening. First of all, there is more inventory. Spring is typically, in normal markets, the most busiest time of the year for real estate. And that's when you get the most inventory that comes out. The second thing is that the government has been introducing lots of legislation a couple of weeks ago in their budget to address housing and trying to calm it down. The third thing is interest rates. We've already had 2 interest rate hikes this year. We're already at the highest interest rates that we've seen in the last 2 years. And they're expecting interest rates to go up even more. So that's definitely affecting housing overall and affordability, especially for first-time home buyers. And then the fourth thing is really buyer sentiment. Now, buyer sentiment encompasses a whole bunch of things, but first of all, there's buyer fatigue. There was a lot of buyers who have been doing multiple offers for a long time and not getting home. So they're just kind of done with it and need to take a break. But then there's all this, so the sentiment of, whoa, there's a shift in the marketplace. So I just want to step back and wait to see what's happening. And I don't want to get involved in multiple offers and all of that stuff. So that's also happening. So that is affecting the overall market. And that is what we are calling the shift. And like I said, it is happening in Toronto and the GTA, but it's not happening everywhere. There are definitely pockets where it continues to be a strong market and it continues to have strong pricing. So that's kind of why the shift is happening. So now why would I buy when there's this shift happening? So there's kind of 3 reasons why I would buy when a shift is happening. First of all, and this is the most important, is that you cannot time the market. You can try, and there are always indications of where the market is heading, but you can't time the market. I've said this time and time again. There are just too many unpredictable factors like COVID or the war that nobody can predict, and nobody could predict how they are going to affect the housing market. You know, when COVID first hit, the press was saying that COVID could kill the housing market. Nobody was expecting it to do what it did to the housing market, and certainly across the board that wasn't expected. And if it was expected, we would have all gone out and bought houses before COVID. So that's what I mean by you can't time the market or predict the market. So trying to wait it out, it can be risky, and it's not something that I engage in. I always look at it from, you know, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish, and what are my budgets, and what do I want to do? So I do think now is the time to look for opportunities, because there is this shift in the market. There's definitely going to be pockets where there's opportunities, and that's what we were looking for. And then the last thing that we always do as investors is we look at what we are trying to do with this long term, and that's what you should do too. If this is something like a quick flip that you're trying to make money on, yeah, that's, you know, with a market that's this dynamic, that's risky for sure. And, you know, you really need to know what you're doing in that. And you also need to be willing to take any risk that comes with that. For us, this purchase is a long-term purchase. And so we believe that the Toronto housing market has proven to have long-term viability. And so we're okay with investing in the Toronto housing market. If you look at when the Toronto housing market has dipped in the past, those dips have always come back. The worst was in the late 80s, and that took over 10 years. So prices dropped in the late 80s. It was growing up until then. It dropped in the late 80s, and it took almost 10 years for those, over 10 years, 10 to 15 years for those prices to come back to normal, and then they exceeded. We had another dip in 2017. That took less than 2 years for it to come back, and some markets weren't even affected in 2017. But there was definitely a dip overall, and prices went down and then came back up within 2 years, and now definitely exceeded the prices of 2017. So for us, when we look at properties, you know, we are not looking for projects that we're looking to turn over quickly, which we have done in the past, because we know that this market is very dynamic and unpredictable. So that's not what we're doing. This property that we ended up buying, we are going to keep for a long time. And we believe that it has a lot of great things about it that we want to keep it for a long time. So those are the reasons why we decided to buy. So what was this opportunity, and why did we buy this house? So whenever we buy houses for investments particularly, we are always looking at what can we affect and what can we not affect. So the things that you can not change are really important. And so what are those? So those are location. You can't change the location. So location is really important. Things like lot size, you cannot change the lot size. The lot size is the lot size. And then the actual type of house. So, you know, if it is a semi-detached, then you actually, that's different than a detached house. That's different than a townhouse. So those are things that typically you cannot change. There are a few exceptions, of course, but that's what you can't change. So for us, location always drives things. So what was this opportunity? This opportunity was a great detached house on a great lot. The lot was good enough that if a builder eventually buys it, they can tear down the existing house and rebuild it. It is walking distance to a subway, and it's in a great pedestrian neighborhood, meaning that from this house, 10-minute walk, you're at shops and restaurants and the subway and the movie theater and all the kinds of great things. It's a highly desirable area, not just for the person who's going to live there as their permanent home, but also for rentals. So if this was a property that for whatever reason you couldn't live in, you could rent it out easily. So those were the things that were really attractive about this property. So why would a property like this have an opportunity? Well, there was two major things. One is it needed a lot of renovations, which can scare off people. And then 2 is that it had tenants. Now, for us, we're planning on keeping those tenants, so it's not an issue. But for other people, you know, if the tenants aren't something you want, then of course, if you're moving into the house, you can get the tenants out with the proper notice and everything else. And then for others who are taking over tenants, they have minimum thresholds about rents and everything else that may not have it work for them. For us, those 2 things were not an issue, and as a result, we knew that the pool of buyers would be less. So what ended up happening is we got this great potential property at a great price. The other thing we were able to offer the seller is, an easy closing where the seller wouldn't have to worry about the tenants. The seller wouldn't have to worry about closing dates because we were quite flexible and all of these other things. We had no conditions, so there was no home inspection, no financing condition, but we were really aggressive on the price. So we saved over $100,000 on this purchase. It ended up being a win-win for both sides. And the seller actually got a great price. They didn't get the price that they would have gotten in January and February, but they certainly still got a good price. It's probably something that would have been paid sometime in early 2021. And for us, we believe that the upside to this house is there, and we know long term it will be there because of all the other things I said. Walking distance to all these things, the fact that it's a detached and on this great lot. So that's the reason why we bought, and we are thrilled that we bought. Now, does this make sense for somebody who's selling? Is now a good time to sell? Well, let's talk about that. If you're finding value in these videos, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out, and it also really tells us what kind of videos you like. And if there's anything you disagree, please put it in the comments. We love that engagement, and we love talking to you. And if you have any questions about real estate in Toronto, call, text, email, or WhatsApp us, and we'll be sure to take care of you. And also, if you want to connect, just make a calendar appointment down below. And I love talking real estate and answering any questions, and I'm happy to do that. So let's get to the 2 big questions. First of all, people keep asking me, should they wait to buy? And I'm going to answer the way I have answered in every other video, which is don't wait to buy. Just be really smart and strategic about it. Don't overpay. Don't try to time the market, and look for opportunities. And if you do all of those things, then everything else will take care of itself. So it might be that you watch and observe, and the neighborhoods that you are looking at do not see a dip. And so you kind of know that, understand that, you and your realtor work together to make sure that, you are looking for the best opportunities within that market. Or maybe you're looking at something like what we did, which is opportunities where there are properties that are not perfect that have opportunities. Whereas in the marketplace in January and February, everything was selling no matter what. Now the properties that are not perfect are opportunities for you to get in, get a better price point, and especially if it's in an area where there's a lot of upside. So don't stop your search. Be more careful with your search, be more strategic with your search, but don't stop your search because you want to make sure that you're constantly looking at the marketplace to look to see when there is a great property out there at the price that you want to pay and at a price that you that you can afford. And then finally, if you're a seller, is now still the right time to sell? And the answer is yes. We are still in we are still in low inventory. It's still a great seller's market. It's just that January and February were probably the peak, but the prices are still very high, very active, and it's still a good time to sell. And again, it's the same with sellers. You can't time the market. So if you're trying to wait and see what happens, I would have the same advice. You got to watch it. You got to know it. You got to talk to your real estate agent to make sure that your timing is strategic as well. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is Connie Sarvananthan. I'm a real estate agent and active investor here in Toronto and the GTA. If you have any comments, good or bad, please put them below. And if you like what you're watching, please like and subscribe. And finally, if you have any questions about Toronto and the GTA real estate, call, text, email, WhatsApp, or make an appointment below, and we would love to help you out. Thank you for watching.